Okay, thank you everyone for being here. You'll notice that I have a colleague with me today, Claire. So, Claire, can you just tell everybody who you are and why you're here?
Hello, everybody. I'm Claire. So I did the altitude training with Laura in 2023, and I was in a cohort with Harry Fenner-Crawley and Katie Knight, who some of you may well know. And I loved it so much that I decided I wanted to add it to my toolbox. I'm a coach and EFT practitioner. So EFT is sort of tapping on acupressure points. Um, and so, yeah, earlier in the year, I trained in the Giant tools, and I'm kind of getting to grips with using it with clients now.
Mm, thank you. Claire's a really good therapist, and it's great to have her. So, she and I work closely together with Sam and leadership, and she's been brilliant. So, you have the benefit of both of us, and there may also be other colleagues that come and go as well on these calls, so that you get the benefit of a number of different coaching perspectives. So, I hope that feels exciting to meet some new people. You'll get to know one another as well, which is really exciting. And also loads to look forward to in terms of the tools that we're going to be discussing. I'm so excited to be launching a cohort of altitude. It's one of my very favourite things to do. The tools are incredible, and we'll do a deep dive on at least one tool each time. Usually it'll be two with our fortnightly calls. And we're going to be doing that shortly today, a tool that you may be familiar, it may not be, but you will have new insights if you bring that mentality of learning. We'll do our very best to inspire you, and you bring your very best as well in terms of learning. That could be asking questions, that's absolutely fine, wrestling with it. We'll break out into groups as well during the call so that you get to chat one-to-one with someone else, and no question is too silly or too small. So please feel completely released, even if you think it might be obvious to ask. So before we jump into today's awesome tool, I want to just give you a bit of an overview of what to expect on our course today. So I'm just going to show you a little bit about what to expect, and then we'll jump into our thought for the day, our Bible verse for the day. So here we go. So here is a bit more detail on what to expect. You may already know this, but if you do, then it's a bit of a recap. So it's a complete online training across 1 year, 51 sessions online. So that's one a week, which delivers the skills needed to lead yourself and develop your people. So you will be applying this to you, to who you are and your leadership. That could be your leadership at work, at home, in every area of your life. But also, how can you develop the people? You're all here because you lead in some way. You lead yourselves, you lead your teams as well. So how can you show up as a leader who is even more healthy? Well, we can equip you with tools. That's what we're doing. So what does it look like? What's expected? Every week, you will do 30 minutes independently. You can do it any time of the day. Could be middle of the night. Hopefully it won't be. You probably might want to think about when to schedule that 30-minute section of your training. So when does it work best for you? When is your brain most alive? And how can you use that time well? So put it in the diary, 30 minutes on a regular basis, so that you're not then scrabbling just before the call to try to get it done. I suggest try and get it done 2 or 3 days beforehand. So you've had a bit of time for it to marinate before the call, when we'll do another sort of round of processing. There's also a fortnightly 1 hour group session, which is this, to process the tools, deepen understanding and provide accountable application. So that's where you get to go, oh, do you know, there's this bit of the tool I didn't understand. Or actually, I've done a kind of first draft on my own and I got somewhere, but actually on the call, you will go again and you'll get deeper insights on it. As part of that session, there will be a weekly 100 exercise focused on helping you improve your own leadership. So that's part of the call on the platform. And there'll also be something called a weekly X challenge, which is where you take what you've learned and you apply it to other people as well. So something for you to take on for yourself, and then something for you to apply to others. So overall, that combines a mixture of self-led, you on the platform yourself in your own time, coach-led through us on the calls and in email support, and peer-led coaching. So we suggest that you buddy up for accountability and encouragement between sessions. So there might be somebody on the call here who you could say, do you know, I'd quite like to sort of us to WhatsApp one another or to meet up occasionally and to chat about the tools. So you've got somebody in your group. You could also set up a group between you, maybe on Teams, where you are able to put any questions during the week when you're all doing your homework. You could have a back and forth going on there. Now, some people don't want another WhatsApp group or another Teams group because you've already a bit overrated with comms. We're all different. So if be released to opt out if you don't want that extra level and just come and ask when you need it. So it's completely up to you. There's also a biblical theme for each session with an optional study guide. You may have seen that already in the emails. This will be really helping you in all areas of your life. But if you want to just give it that extra spiritual dimension, then you could buy the book. And the book's called Breakthrough, and there is a link to that book on one of the previous emails. And I can also put it in the calendar invitation as well if you'd like it. So let me know if you'd like that. I'll show it to you in a second as well. What you're going to get at the end of this year is this brilliant CPD approved certificate, 38 hours worth. So it's lots of points, and you can then use that if you go for an interview within Bible Society for promotion. And you can also use it if you go to another organisation as well. It's completely transferable and very well respected. So well done for committing to this journey. You're really investing in your own leadership, and that's going to be super helpful. There is another resource that's mentioned from time to time on the Altitude call, and it's a book called The 100X Leader. It's completely optional, but if you wanted to really go even deeper with the tools, occasionally it will tell you, we recommend reading chapter 13 or chapter 3. It's a very good book. So it might be one to get now. It might be one to put on your Christmas list to hopefully find in your stocking if you want to do some extra reading and become top of the class. Okay, so that's a kind of overview. I just want to show you the Giant platform as well by way of introduction. So by now, Liesl will have sent you your own private link to the Pro account, which you might not have seen before on Giant. And in this, you get access to loads of leadership courses. Feel free to browse and dive in, as much or as little as you like. The minimum commitment is that 30 minutes each week. And that follows the Altitude course. So where do I find that? You go to Library. So click on your Library tab on the left and that will load. And then what you'll see is a big banner, Explore Your Voice Order. You can do that now or at a later date when we cover the 5 voices in more depth. But the place to find Altitude is to click on Other Resources. And then you see Altitude Training is that second tab there. And then it all loads and you'll see all of these sessions. And each time you complete a session, it's going to give you a log of how many you've completed. So you might like that if you're a ticket off kind of person. So it will very soon say 1 out of 51, 2 out of 51. And when you go into those, there's 5 tabs at the top with 5 different pages. You watch a video. There's a workbook online for you to log your insights. And then you do the challenge on yourself, then the X challenge to multiply it to others. And then the final one is a quiz. And the quiz is just testing whether you have understood the tool correctly. No one's trying to be caught out here. It's just another layer of so you're going to feel, it's a bit like having a personal trainer in the gym, but this is for your mind and your brain and your soul and your mental side of things. So you're going to feel like you've had a good little workout. So I hope, I testify, these will be sessions in your week you look forward to, and they will help you show up healthily. So both Claire and I can testify that when we've done Altitude courses, we're probably at the healthiest we are when we're doing this regular tool deep dive and revision every single week. I'm so excited to be starting another one because I know it helps me as well as helping me to help others. So that's super exciting. Claire, just looking at that, as you think back on that Altitude year, anything that you want to say at the very beginning to people about what to expect?
I think it's really hard for me to kind of get across adequately how much of an impact it has had on me. I think a bit later on we'll after we've had the discussion, probably touch on precisely why. But it's had a really enormous impact. And also, it brought some really fantastic relationships into my life, and sort of deepened that side of my life as well. I was thinking last night after we did yesterday's session, oh, I'm going to pop a message in the WhatsApp group that we've got and just kind of touch base with everybody and see how everybody's getting on. So yeah, it's a really fantastic 12 months that will be beneficial in every area of your life.
Thanks, Claire. That's so encouraging. It's a nice emphasis as well, that reminder that we're doing this as a team. They use the Sherpa analogy of climbing Mount Everest. You don't do it on your own. We need tools, we need pickaxes, we need ladders, we need sustenance, but we're doing it together. And there might be moments where it feels a bit hard. You feel like, oh, I'm a bit fed up working on myself. Why doesn't anyone else around me work on themselves? Because as you get healthier, you start to notice other people's accidental characteristics even more as well. But there's so much gain. There is so much gain from doing this. So, any questions there? That was the introduction to altitude. Is there any questions on anything at all, actually, but the program as a whole, what to expect, anything on anyone's minds? I'm just going to give you an opportunity now. No, no, everyone happy? Is that clear? Yeah, Hannah, go ahead.
Could be a really stupid question, but we're doing that. So where it was split into the 5 aspects, we're doing all of that before turning up to the call. So technically, we're going to do 2 in one a week and then a call. So we're completing everything. It's not we do it after the call. Is that right?
That's a great question, Hannah. The 5 pages, do you mean, of each session? Yes. You complete. The idea is, and today is just our intro call, so I don't expect you to have done anything before today. You've got yourselves here. That's a win. But yeah, before each session, prepare that session with all 5 pages. Complete the session online. Even if there's aspects you go, oh, I'm not quite sure about that, make a note, and then you bring it to the session to ask about then. Yeah, great question.
Brilliant. Thank
That's
you.
brilliant. And in the document that I sent in the email, and I'll resend it again this evening, it's got the whole plan for the year with what prep work to do for which call. So, like, for example, for next week's call, you want to review the session we're doing today and then do the next session. So this is the only week where I'll ask you to do 2 in 1 week if you can. All right, any other questions? Hello, Alex, nice to see you. Do you want to say a quick hello? And we were saying, what are we celebrating today? You can celebrate being here if you like.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm celebrating. This is going to sound kind of weird. I'm celebrating that my thumb is much better because it's been sore for a long time, ever since my son crashed into it while we were swimming. So the fact that I can bend it, it didn't go, I'm okay, that's big news.
That's great news, Alex. That's so good. We love our kids, don't we? But sometimes they can they can hurt us. Bless you. It's great that you're here. Okay, any other questions? One last time to go round. Everybody clear and happy? Brilliant. That's what I love. Brilliant. Great. So who's ready for a tour? Are you ready to do a dive in? We're going to do a bit of work on yourself. You might want something to scribble on, whether that's a tablet or whether that's a pen and paper to hand. So remember, we're doing our first draft of this tool. It's okay if you don't completely nail it in one session, because you'll then get to recap it in your private session afterwards. So let's dive in to the tool for today. And today we are looking at a tool called 70/30. And before we dive in, we're going to have our biblical mindset. So what's our mindset for today? Here's the mindset from Psalm 139. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, says the Lord. Says us, it's David speaking. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. So he's speaking about the Lord, who he believes has fearfully and wonderfully made him. Fearfully because there's awe. When God made man and woman, it says in the Bible, he looked at them and said, this is very good. And that's the first time he'd actually used that expression. Before that, everything was good, but this is very good. There is something awe-inspiring. We are that image of God. and we're wonderfully made. And I just want you just to take a moment just to recognize that today. Because usually what happens is we get fed up with ourselves. That's why one of the reasons we're celebrating today. We're reprogramming our minds. And I love that lots of people picked ordinary, household, everyday things to celebrate. We often just pick up on the things we can't do, the things we don't do as well as someone else, the mistakes we're making, the ways maybe we've let ourselves or others down. But actually, there are wonderful things about you, and you have been wired a particular way for a wonderful purpose. So David's saying, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. How do I know that? Well, because you only make wonderful things. Your works are wonderful. I'm sitting here and I can see my garden, and already I've seen butterflies, the bunny rabbits that I told you about earlier, birds, trees, the sky. I know when I look at other things that there are wonderful things in this world. So maybe I'm wonderful too. And I just want you to just capture that moment. I know that full well. I know you make really wonderful things. So can I dare to believe that I am wonderful too? Comparison is the thief of joy. So we're spending some time today in a tool called the 70/30, which helps us to see and celebrate what we do well and recognize that we're not all wired the same, and that's okay. So let's step into that tool then now and see how that becomes relevant in this coaching space. So on the left side of the tool, you can see it says 70%. And the 70%, it's simple. Some of you have seen this tool before in workshops I've done. It accounts for our natural strengths. What are the things that we are good at doing without having to think too hard about it? That's our unconscious competence. We are competent at these things and we don't have to think too hard about them. They then are our energizing aspects of life. So when I'm doing certain things, I can bounce home quite happily because I'm not drained. And those are the things we want to look out for and notice, because they are part of the way that we have been fearfully and wonderfully wired, is with these particular things. And not everybody will have these things that you have. Some people in their 70% will put down administration of a task. They'll put down attention to detail. And for other people, they aren't their strengths. For other people, it's the big picture, that they are good at seeing how things join up with other things. They like to be in a space where they can move quickly from one thing to another rather than be drawn in to something that is detailed. So which is it for you? Which of those types are you? So be starting to think now, as I'm talking through the tool, what would you put in your 70 side and what would you put in your 30 side? Let's talk about 30 then. So 30% is your learned behavior. These are things you may have become proficient at. You may be awesome at these things. You may be able to heavy lift with these things. Your whole job role may be defined around these learned behaviors, but they aren't unconscious competence. They are conscious competence. You have to think consciously about doing these things, or you have had to at some point. You've rewired a new joining in your brain, a new route or journey in order to be able to do these things. It didn't come as easily as it would have done to someone else. And those things, even though you may be brilliant at them, even though they may be a lot of your role, they will be draining for you. You will be tired if you have to do too much of those things that are learned behaviors. And those things should only account for a maximum of 30% of your day, 30% of your time, if you look at it as a complement, perhaps across a week or 2 weeks. And if it's any more than 30%, then you will start to feel a bit frayed around the edges. And if it's significantly more than 30%, you'll probably start to be able to root towards burnout. So this is why we start with this tool, is let's just take a measure of how you are, of how energized you are on the job. So we think 70/30 is the right complement of time to try to align your strengths and to offset those draining aspects of life. If it was more than 70, well, you might not be learning. Sometimes we need to be doing things. We need to be reminding ourselves of how hard it is to learn a new skill. And some of those 30 things actually are necessary to be able to do the 70 things and to be able to serve others as well. So if we're less than 30%, we might want to be saying to ourselves, okay, I could probably take on a little bit more of the jobs I don't want to do. That keeps us learning all the time. So we think 70-30 is about right for the tool. So I am going to come out of the share. You've got that tool and tell you what to do next. Before I do, are there any questions so far on the tool itself? 70-30. No. Okay. Feel free to chip in with any point. Right. So I asked my son Gil, who, as I've said, is off school. So I thought I'd give him something useful to do. I asked him to do a 70-30 for himself. And here's how he did it. So can you see my screen? I'd like you to make a column on your bit of paper or your tablet with 70 on one side and 30 on the other, with a line down the middle. And then I want you to jot down what are the things that go into each of those columns. So what are the things straight away that you go, I am good at these things? This doesn't have to be an exhaustive list. This is just a first draft. Okay, you'd probably need a bit longer to be able to do an exhaustive list. Now, what's he got here? Oh, he's put sport, music, drama, socializing, sleep, he said he's good at, which is quite fun. Creativity, planning and imagination. He's put drinking lots of water, which I said, really? He said, yeah, some people just don't like drinking water, but I do. I'm good at it. I said, go for it, mate. That's fine. Working hard. So he's put these things there on the left. And on the right side, he's put chores, top of the list. Hilarious. Understanding Latin lessons, finds hard. Staying focused, remembering details, doing the boring stuff has to be done in brackets. So that's his little start for you. And he decided he's in a super good place. 83, 17 he gave himself, which tells me he needs some more chores. Am I right? Yes. So he's sort of set himself up there, hasn't he? But that's what I'd like you to do, something similar, is jotting down on the left while I'm chatting and fielding questions the next couple of minutes. Start to make your lists.
Is this work, Laura, or is this like life in general?
Great question. I love it. It's literally 360 of your whole life.
Right.
360. Yeah. And then it becomes even more obvious to you if you're quite drained at home for whatever reason, the season you're in, how important it is to try to align what you do at work with your natural strengths. So strengths on the, if you're struggling for ideas, just glance through your calendar. What's in there? Meetings, planning, writing, working collaboratively, working alone. Those could be two different things you split up. Maybe ask yourself, when was the last time I came home bouncing? And what did I do on that day? That's good data. What did I do on that day? And also flip it on its side. When was the last time I was exhausted? I was really grumpy last week. Now, when was that? Let's see what I did in those days before. It might be that you did something energizing, but you didn't have enough recharge or recovery time. But it might be that there's a pattern. So we're looking for a few things on each side. And when you've done that, just try to give it a value. For some of you, that value, that percentage, will be a gut feel. I'm at 50-50. I just know I'm at 50-50. For others, it's looking at the list and thinking how much time am I spending in each column. But it should add up to 100. That's the clue. Okay. Just take yourself off mute when you've got there, and feel free just to share where you're up to with it, or how's it going? Anyone ready to take a pause? Leanne?
Yeah. Go on.
Great. Hello. How's it going?
All right, thanks. How do you want me to feedback?
Just tell us what you've got.
Sure.
Feel free to just give us some suggestions. It's helpful for others to hear an example.
in my 70 column, although it's not actually 70/30, but in the left-hand bit, I think probably broadly big picture thinking, creativity, people focused, so generally better at working collaboratively than on my Todd. Um, good at like seeing connections to stuff. Yeah, that would kind of be left hand column, right hand. And funny that you should say most of this is my job. So details, data, like in the nitty-gritty, kind of what I would say like the day-to-day grind. Life admin. So as soon as you sort of said outside of work as well, I'm like, oh yeah, there's all the life admin that's sucking the life out of my soul.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be kind of my split. And I've said maybe 60/40 at the moment. So it's not awful, but it's probably not as healthy as it could be.
Yeah, really good. Thank you, Leanne. That's so helpful. And actually, even if it's just slightly over 30, you will feel the pinch. Great. Thank you, Leanne. Brilliant examples there. Could we have a different voice? Someone else? Richard, you looked at the screen. That was a mistake. You looked into the
Yeah, I
camera.
did, didn't I, Laura? I find this hard, you know. In one
Mm,
sense, I feel like I could just put work in the
mm,
30%.
mm.
But that's just how I feel about I would be a great millionaire. You know, I wouldn't be bored. I know how I would fill my time and it'd be wonderful. But I've tried to break out of that mindset. In my 70%, interacting with others, presenting stuff, writing stuff, and then just running and reading. I like those. I'm good at them. Never had to think about them really. 30% scheduling. I hate it. Meetings,
Mm,
scheduling it, finding time slots. It just kills me. Event planning. I hate running events. I have to do both those things quite a lot. Creative ideas. I'm not your person for that. Don't come to me for that. DIY. I'm not a millionaire, so I have to do that, and I hate it. So that's where am I at in life? Oh, I don't know. Eh, somewhere around 50/50 probably.
50/50. Great. Thank you, Richard. That's really great. Thank you for those two examples. I think they were really, really helpful. Anyone else? We've got time for one more person to feedback.
I can
Sarah,
go.
do you want? Oh, who was that?
That was me,
Ah,
Larissa.
yes, please, Arissa. Go ahead.
Um, yeah, so I'd put it actually at the top of my 70. Home is my happy place. So I think like all good things at home. My kids are now 13 and 10, and I love it because now they're like my little buddies rather than wonderful little crazies that you're having to keep on top of all the time. So like I love just watching, like we love watching Australian MasterChef and Survivor and stuff together, like just kind of hanging out. Yeah, which is really nice to kind of decompress with my children, which is great. So I'm loving that at the moment. Yeah, kind of reading. I love quite involved at church with like organizing the worship. I kind of really enjoy all of that. That's quite energizing. Um, I enjoy my team at work. So kind of Tuesdays is team day. It's nice being in the office, chatting with people, kind of happy for my extroverted side. And then kind of my other side of things, any kind of people conflicts I find quite difficult. So stuff when you're having to manage a team of people, when things aren't going according to plan, I particularly find it difficult to deal with people's behavior when you have to address personal behaviors, is just hard. So yeah, I find that very draining. And also at work, I find any tech issues that are outside of my control very frustrating, and we have quite a lot of those at work. And it's almost the thing that drives me more mad than anything else because I can't do anything about it, and I really I like to be very in control of everything, and if I'm not, then I find that annoying. But I would say I'm probably on a sort of 70/30. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Encouraging, great. And that's really helpful to have three different experiences there and to get specific on those things in your 70 and your 30 as well. Love it. And I think that the thing with conflict and dealing with people, lots of these tools over the course of the year are going to really help with that. So this is a good thing to do in relation to that one to make that more energizing. Okay, wonderful. So we've had a bit of feedback now. I'm going to add another layer to this tool and then we'll go into a breakout room. Okay, so let's dive back into the tool, back onto the screen and into this question. Okay, so let's think about our 30 a bit more now. So look at your 30 column and the question is this: what can I outsource, swap or trade up to make my 30 more energizing? So let me give you an example of each of those three things. So what can I outsource? Is there something that I am doing a lot of that actually it is worth my while to pay someone else to do or to give to someone else if someone else has capacity? Can I just get this literally off my agenda and off my desk? So for me, when I had little kids, actually before I had kids, I was working full time and I had someone coming in to clean just once every fortnight. And when I had my kids and our sort of budget went down, I said to James, I really want to keep the cleaner. I will forego meat. I will forego alcohol. I will literally, any of those expensive things, I'd rather not have those things and keep my cleaner. That was just for me. And that was because I wanted to know that I had that base layer of cleanliness in the house and of hygiene, which is just impossible to get when you have little toddlers and things around. I can never quite get to that point. So I outsourced the hygiene of the house and it meant it cost me, but it was a cost I was happy to pay. So look at that 30 and just glance at it. Is there anything that actually costs you so much in terms of, Richard talking about DIY, could there be somebody locally, a handyman that, it might actually be beneficial for you. It might release you even more to actually be able to pay someone to do a particular job on trim the hedge or whatever on a regular basis. Is it perhaps more reasonable or more achievable than you might think? So is there something you could outsource? That's the first question on your 30. Secondly, is there something I could swap with someone else? So again, Rich's example of event running, I know there are people, probably some people on this call, who love running events. So rather than actually us going, I just have to do it, it's in my job description, is there someone around? Is there someone on your team or even in another team who you could take something from and you could give them something in return? And now that requires trust. That requires trust and that requires relationship. But that could happen. I was in a workshop down in Sussex once with a leadership team for a prep school. And one of them had put in their 30 showing parents around the school. And the other one had put showing parents around the school in their 70. And when we compared the lists, there was also another concurrency. One of them had put doing admin and doing rotas for staff in their 30, and the other one had put it in their 70. So it was an obvious case of, okay, let's swap. So they didn't swap the whole role, they swapped the bulk of the role. So one was just doing, rather than both doing 50% of each, one of them was then doing 70 or 80% of the showing the parents around, the other one, the admin. And the next time I saw them, both had their 70-30 had gone up. Both of them were closer to 70% because they were just on a regular basis doing things that were more energizing to them. One person's trash is another person's treasure. And that's important to remember because we tend to think, if we're nice people, I don't want to dump anyone else with that horrible job that I hate doing. Well, remember, they might love it. Literally. Some people sit and do spreadsheets while their partner's watching Netflix. So just think about who might there be for whom this is a win-win. Win-win is what we're looking for here. How could there be a win-win? And swapping can bring that win-win up. Or the third option is trade up. How can I do the same thing in a way that makes it better for me, that makes it more energizing for me? So, I mentioned I was on a call with Liesl this morning, putting in dates for other training days. We had an email trail with a number with other people involved. It got really confusing. So Liesl and I put a date in the diary for this morning, and we jumped on a call and we did it together. And that made it so much. Suddenly, we both felt better. We were like, brilliant. Both of us are feeling stressed with this. How are we going to work it out? Did it together on a call. So, how can you trade up an activity to do it in a way that is less draining, that becomes more energizing? One-to-ones, you might find them draining, but if you go for a walk around the block, you might find it more energizing. Apps can help us to trade up an activity to make it more easy as well. There's so many helps that technology can bring. So look at your 30 list. Star something that you think that could be something I could work with. I could outsource, swap, or trade up. There's some mileage in me thinking along those lines, and just have that growth mindset. Don't be thinking, well, I'm just stuck with this 30, that's it. Actually, if you can just find one win today, it will really impact you going forward. A small tweak can make a really big difference. Okay, we're going to jump into a breakout room. Claire, are they ready to go? Before we do, any questions on that? We're going to be discussing your 70-30 with one another, share it, and help each other to try to find a win with a swap, a trade up, or an outsource. Is that clear? Great. See you shortly. Off you go. Great.
Well done. Do you want to pause the recording?
Ah, yes.
Obviously enjoying their chats.
Mhm. Hannah, you were the first in. Well done. Hannah, are you happy to be the first to report back on how
Yes,
that
absolutely.
went?
Yeah,
Thank
that's fine.
you. Yeah, go ahead when you're ready. How did it go, Hannah?
Sorry, everyone's back. Yes, no, really well. Karen and I had great conversation. It's very interesting that there was elements that were definitely very similar for both of us, compared to others, and just reflecting on certain tasks that we see the potential for. So, for example, ASGs, I really enjoy them, but I have a very low yellow on my insight, so I have to dial up, and I enjoy seeing everyone, but I can find it a little overwhelming and very draining. So there's nothing we could do about ASGs, and we focus on the element of the importance of it. But then the next day I try to make sure I've got some me time in the sense of more attention to detail, whether it's payroll or recruitment. There's a slightly more admin-y that I can just build my energy reserves back up. But no, it was really interesting. And we also kind of said that maybe to dive a bit more is to pull up our job descriptions and just go through a little bit more certain elements so that we can fill out the 70-30 a bit more. But yeah.
That's an excellent idea, Hannah. I love it. And that could be your second draft when you're, being aware that when you go and do the deeper dive online, that you're actually you've got your job description there. That could be very, very helpful. But I love that. Literally go through every month when you have the ASG and put into your schedule the next day or even that evening, just you time, something that you know will recharge you. What a good idea. Kate, can we hear from you?
Yeah, great point, Hannah, because that was sort of also one of mine. I think, anyone who's sort of introverted at heart, those sort of bigger days can be quite draining. So, similar reflection of like, definitely important day, and just sort of, being mindful of like, what is the intention for the day? Like knowing, okay, I'm not actually going to get sort of time to be in a quiet space to write, but going to be able to catch up with colleagues who I probably haven't seen for a while. And just being mindful of sort of how I work and what, that I do need that quiet time as well. So, and then other things were sort of leading meetings or sort of public speaking, that things that I sort of struggle with, which I don't necessarily do too often, but for me it's sort of rather than a a case of like, okay, I could, like, I have sort of spoken to my manager, and we sort of have done a good job of sort of being aware of what things I enjoy and what things I do find more challenging. But also being able to sort of carve out opportunities to develop that. So yeah, I think in some ways, yeah, I could sort of turn around and say, oh no, I'd rather not. But also just trying to be a bit more confident to actually take those opportunities and
Yes.
grow as well, with
Yes.
things that perhaps I wouldn't find sort of naturally, yeah, come naturally to me.
Well done. And you're here as well, which is such a big step to do that. But getting clear on what are the things that you would ideally like to do more of. That's a really positive chat. And your line manager will love you coming to them and saying that, and saying, I'd love to do a bit more of this, because they want you to thrive. So getting clear on at least just one thing could be your next step. I love that. Sarah, can we hear from you? How did you find that task?
Oh, yeah, that was right. I haven't managed to outsource my washing pile yet. No, the boys didn't want to take that one on. I was a bit disappointed.
Love it.
It's quite strange because I'm quite an extrovert, and then I was with, I think they're both introverts. So it was quite an interesting conversation. And we felt it was quite good that you'd obviously introduced that we could outsource, trade up or whatever, our 30 list, when I suppose we keep our 30 list to ourselves and we just trundle through it. And it's like, oh gosh, I've got to do these things. And for me, it was like I sort of aligned with Larissa, and when you have one-to-ones with a staff member, and they can be quite difficult. And when I sort of said, maybe when you're sat in a meeting room or sat next to them or sat opposite them, it's quite confrontational, and I'm not very good at having to deal with issues, and I beat about the bush, and I probably never really get to the point. And then I try to be too nice, and we're not getting anywhere when we do that. And so, like, going for a walk with them, and they're stood here rather than here, it might be, and you're not having to look at them as such when you're trying to deal with the difficult issues. And I thought, that's something I'm going to try, because
Great.
help.
Great, Sarah, that is so good. When I was a teacher and I had tutees in the sixth form, one-to-one, that would be a brilliant way of getting them to actually share unconsciously without feeling conscious, too self-conscious. So wonderful. And the movement feels positive as well, rather than, like you said, sitting facing one another. So good. Will, could we hear from you, please?
Yeah, so I was in Sarah's group, actually. So yeah, I'm one of the ones guilty. I wouldn't take the washing away. Sorry, Sarah. Yeah, similarly, well, what's been said, echoing all of that, really. Quite introverted, so the relational side, that's something that I dial up. So I hear your comments about the ASGs, which I'm on the planning committee for, so noted. But it is always one of those things we've got to think about in terms of, for some people it's really uplifting, and you get your strength from that, but for others as well, it can be quite draining. And then just other things like, what can you actually give up altogether? So most of the things on my 30 list, they're just responsibilities. Like, I can't outsource, entertaining the kids, for example, those sorts of things. You just have to find ways. But we've got tools now like AI and things that can actually also come to the party and give you some extra inspiration. So yeah, I mean that's really it.
So good.
It was good.
So good. Finding one thing with each family member that you both enjoy, rather than doing, I'll go and do that with them because they love it. What can you find a win-win? Can you find something that you both like doing at different times in their lives? That can be really helpful. Like Larissa saying, watching certain series together, everybody enjoys that. So thinking of that would be great. Alex, something from you, please.
Again, I was in the group that obviously left poor Sarah alone with her washing, so really sorry about that. Well, first of all, I think it's just empowering to realize that you don't have to keep the 30%. I think that's such a big thing to embrace, because yeah, I do feel like it is the stone I carry, and that's just my lot in life. So the idea that potentially, hey, you could drop some of those stones, you give them to somebody else, is actually quite empowering. So more specifically, I'm very chatty, very conversational. That's how I interact with people. So situations that are incredibly formal or rigid or confrontational within that, and I don't have many of those, thank you, Lord, in my life, but there are one or two where I have situations that I can't avoid, which are like that. And they are particularly draining. And I haven't found necessarily easy ways to swap or trade or outsource. But the fact that it even feels like a possibility is enough.
Wonderful, Alex. I love that. That's a brilliant point to end on. I know some of you will have to slip off for meetings straight away. That's absolutely fine. Your prep work is to do sessions 1 and 2 in preparation for next week. Have some more fun with 70/30, but let's end with that thought. The 30 is not the stone you have to carry. Let's think smartly about this. Even if you can make one change, one outsource, trade up or swap, you will really feel the benefit. So that's what we're looking to do over the course of the next week or so. Loads more to come. I hope you enjoyed that. Do hang on if you have any questions, and you don't have to rush. Otherwise, see you again next week.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
you.
Bye. Have a great day.